If you constantly feel like you're the only one holding everything together, you are not unlucky. You're participating. There is a quiet frustration that builds inside capable women. It doesn't explode. It accumulates. Why am I the only one remembering? Why am I the only one planning? Why am I the only one fixing? Why am I the only one checking in? Why am I the only one ahead? And eventually it becomes heavier. Resentment. Not dramatic. Just a low, steady. Must I really do everything? You look around and think, no one shows up for me. But let's slow this down. If you move fast, people adapt to your speed. If you solve quickly, people assume it's covered. If you step in before someone struggles, they never build the muscle. If you don't ask for help, people assume you don't need it. Over time, a rhythm forms. You stabilize, others relax. You anticipate, others delay. You fill the gap, others stop scanning for it. And now you feel alone inside your competence. But here's the part we rarely examine. Have you shown people how to show up for you? Or have you trained them to expect that you will handle it? Not maliciously, functionally. And here's where it gets deeper. This doesn't just happen in tasks. It happens emotionally. When someone is upset, do you immediately regulate them? When there is tension in the room, does your body tighten like it's your job to smooth it? When plan falls apart, do you move into the solution mode before anyone else speaks? When someone forgets something, do you quietly fix it rather than let the consequences teach them? That's not just helpfulness. That's responsibility expansion. And expansion, repeated long enough, becomes identity. Let's call this clearly overfunctioning. Overfunctioning is doing more than the moment requires. Not because you were asked, because you are adapted. Your nervous system learned early that instability equals danger. So you become the stabilizer. You become hyper aware of mood shifts, tone changes, gaps in planning, future conflict, potential conflict. And when you detect instability, you move. That reflex feels like maturity, but it's vigilance. And vigilance becomes hyper responsibility. Hyper responsibility sounds noble, but structurally, it means you feel responsible for outcomes you do not control. You scan for your part first, even when something was not yours. You ask, what could I have done differently? Before asking, was that actually mine? That reflex was probably rewarded. You were praised for being responsible, reliable, steady, mature, and usefulness fused with identity. Now, when something feels unstable, you cannot not step in. because stepping in feels like safety. But every time you expand responsibility beyond your lane, you shrink someone else's capacity. And then you resent them for not caring. That's the paradox. And let me ask you something uncomfortable. When something needs to be handled, do you pause long enough for someone else to rise? Or do you move before the silence gets uncomfortable? And if you stop moving so fast, what are you afraid would happen? Inside the infinity method, this is phase 1, pattern exposure. Responsibility is healthy. Hyper-responsibility is bracing. Living unbraced means you allow space. You tolerate minor instability. You let someone else struggle long enough to build muscle. You don't regulate every emotional temperature in the room. You don't resolve every potential conflict. You don't feel every pause. You ask instead of assume. You wait instead of move. That does not make you passive. It makes you sovereign. Because sovereignty is knowing what is yours and what is not. Adulthood is not carrying everything. It is carrying only what is assigned and letting others meet their edge. You are not unsupported. You are overextended. And what you extend, you can retract. If this is lending, stay with me.